And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on the line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. Edgar Martinez with a double. Whip down the left field line, and they are going crazy at the Kingdom.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only Mr. Tom Hutler. Do you have any of your favorite stories from the Kingdom?
There was a time we had an earthquake, and so they were going to evacuate the building. So I was like getting up to go leave. They go, "No, you can't go. You got to read these safety things." It's like,
do we need to tell them that there's smoking's only on the exterior ramp?
Yeah. And Dave came shooting past. He signed off. I'm going, wait, I'm the only one here.
Listen and subscribe to Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
What up? This is Myron, and you are listening or checking out the newest episode of the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, a Down on the Docks, on the other side of the tracks, 5-star dive bar about your American League West champion, Seattle Mariners. And we come to you today on a day that is a historic day, Hanno, isn't it, in Mariners history? For a couple of reasons, but maybe the biggest one, what is it?
Isn't it the 30-year anniversary of the double?
It is absolutely the 30th anniversary of the double. I woke up this morning, first thing I saw, and I was like, wow, 30 years ago. First of all, I'm fucking old. Second of all, I was there. And then I look to my phone and I say, hold on a second. 30 years ago today, they clinched the trip to the ALCS, and they could possibly do it today. It was going to be a beautiful thing. I'm up here visiting Seattle, obviously, and I said, I'm going down to the stadium. I go to the watch party. We have this 3-0 lead, and I'm just thinking in my head, going through what's a nice little opening monologue? Where should we do the episode later? I'm like, I'll go over to Tacos and Tequilas, sit right down on Occidental Avenue, the same Occidental Avenue that 30 years ago as a youngster, I felt this feeling of going to play for the American League Championship as a fan. This was going to be a great tie-in. There's probably going to be people going up and down Occidental, hooting and hollering, but no, that did not happen, obviously. And I'm at a Whole Foods in the Magnolia Inner Bay area doing this episode with you, and which also comes after a good power nap after that, because I called you ready to rock, and you were like, you need to take it easy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. You got to see the whole game. I had to work. I didn't see any of it. And I get where you're coming from, but you're definitely we're different the way we fan, for sure. I mean, obviously, but you were pretty excited, and I just had to tell you to breathe.
Yeah, I think too. I get a little too romantic. Like, what's the story? And we're gonna tie this
Very
beautiful
much.
story into a bow. And I have to think about what one of my favorite television creators, David Chase, who created the Sopranos, where he goes, "Life isn't like that. That's why we don't have these endings here on this show." Well, the Seattle Mariners, just like our title kind of illustrates, of course there's going to be a game. Of course it's going to be against the reigning and probably next Cy Young winner, Tarek Skubal, who you beat once, you beat twice. There's no way you're going to do it a third time. You did it. Great. You took care of business. Not going to have to deal with that again. Nope. You're going to deal with it. Game 5. And now, at the time of this recording, it looks like it's going to be a primetime matchup at 5 o'clock.
Which is really, really good. I'm really happy about that.
Go ahead.
Don't go. I was just gonna say, we've been Mariner fans for decades, and I didn't know right away this morning that it was a 30-year anniversary, but that just doesn't happen in Mariner history where two good things happen on the same day. And then the other thing is that in the 5th game or in a series where you could possibly win it, nothing's ever easy for this franchise or this team. And I'm glad I kind of wasn't watching with you, because I would have probably gotten a little upset at you after 3-0 and you're getting all giddy and excited. I'm probably saying there's 20 more outs to go and just cool your jets, but do you really think that we wouldn't have a game 5?
No, I mean, if you asked me this after we lost the first game, I would say we're probably going to game 5. How I felt 24 hours ago when we were recording and what we saw and what you saw at the beginning of this game, you were like, all right, Detroit has finally run out of steam, because this team was having to, even though it was good of a start they had to do, they had to crawl and scratch their way back to this point in their season. And we've seen that with other teams. We've been that team. You just kind of saw going into the 5th inning, 3-0. You were feeling very good. 3-run lead with our bullpen, the way we set up things and the way they had been throwing, especially in this series. You're like, you're feeling good about it. But in the back of your mind, and this is why I felt bad that you didn't get to watch the game, but then as soon as from the 5th inning on, I was like, oh, I'm very jealous that you didn't get to watch this, because in the back of my mind, as I was saying, I was remembering the bases loaded and these other spots that the Mariners could have cashed in. They did not. They also had a lot of strikeouts today. And when we start seeing them get into a rhythm, just like when it's contagious, just like how when Detroit went off here in game 5 and how the Mariners hit in game 4, you saw who had the momentum with the sticks, and they weren't letting go. And some even were pointing to, and I think it's a little bit crazy, I know momentum carries over, but what the Tigers did in the 9th inning carried over into the next day. I would buy into that if they got off on a hot start, but it took them half the game to get going. In the 4th inning, though, I think you started to see some hard contact from Bryce Miller. So when we go to Dan Wilson making this early change, I'm fine with it. I was absolutely fine with it. There was a lot of double plays also and a lot of hard hit ground balls. In that inning, when it started to unravel, you saw another one of these kind of strange angles that Randy Rosarena took to the ball, I think. But I think it's him just thinking he's going to catch the ball instead of conceding and defensively taking it as a single. I think we saw that again. And then you go to excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but when you went to Gabe Spire in that situation, you're like, it's a little bit early, but whatever. All of our high leverage guys are pretty well rested. Even Munoz got out of that game pretty quickly, got that double play at the end of the game. You're feeling good about it, but yeah, you're feeling like, yeah, there was a lot. This game could have been maybe out of reach, or you could have suffocated or smothered the Tigers at that point, and you didn't. And then they beat your your best middle reliever, which is Spire. They made the moves. They forced them to make substitutions, and those substitutions came through with them. So, like, I don't feel like Dan Wilson and whatsoever when you see people question his moves there. No, the guys just didn't execute in those situations. And the hitters today, there was a lot of swing and miss. You see only 10 strikeouts. You know, like yesterday when you thought Bryce Miller struck out maybe a dozen, and it felt like a dozen. Or no,
Yeah,
excuse me, not
Logan.
Bryce Miller. But when you felt like Logan Gilbert struck out a dozen, but he only struck out 7. Today with the 10 strikeouts, only felt like 10. I mean, it was only 10. I'm butchering this whole thing, but it felt like 15.
No, I follow you. Yeah. And then I saw what you reposted, the location of all the batters against the relievers for where the Mariners pitchers were hitting. And it looked like, the Mariners have been really good being on the black on the edges most of the series. But this was not the case. It looks like there was a lot of balls that were middle or not on the edges of the plate. And the Tigers just hammered them. Is that what the pitch showed in that? Is that pretty accurate of what you saw as well?
Yeah, I don't think I even needed to put the chart to know that the ball was middle, and a lot of the ball was going over the plate. I just had to go and look, so I knew I wasn't crazy. Just like when we were watching the game before, and I said one of these pitches were up in the zone, and you guys were kind of like, I don't know, and we had to go look to see if I was making it up, and I wasn't. And listen, the pitch location with Spire, you're right. He's been living on the edge. He's been painting the corners. That's why he's so good. Same thing with Bizzardo. We just, you know what? We got to we need to stop putting people over on this spot. The second we put them over and we're like, we haven't talked about them enough, and we go hardcore into them and we say that, man, they're the best in the business. It's our fault. Then the next day it seems like this happens. We should have known better to do that. Because we were having a love fest of those guys last night. And just the whole feeling of that game 3 going into game 4, you did feel good. So I feel like the way I felt this morning going into this game, after what we saw, and the Mariners just continuing their dominance on the road after they had to turn it around earlier in the season, I am pretty shocked that this happened. And at the same time, as a Seattle sports fan, I'm not.
Well, let me tell you, I do agree. They were good. They should have been credited with what they did. They looked fantastic in the previous games. Obviously, they didn't, today, from what you tell me and what the pitch chart shows. But I want to tell you, being a Mariner fan, this is a good thing that it happened today rather than in Game 5. I expected this bullpen to struggle at some point during the series. I'm glad it was today and not in an elimination game. So that's one reason why we talked earlier, why I feel pretty good going into Game 5 in the elimination game. So, yeah, it wasn't the best game from your guys, but like I said, feel good about it that it happened, because that kind of stuff always happens to Mariner fans.
Yeah, and, if you'd asked me when the game was tied 2-2 in Game 2, and we had just lost Game 1, and if at that point, let me off this train, if you could sign something to say we were just going to have a Game 5 at home, I would have. So I'm not totally upset at being at a Game 5 as a fan. You kind of knew that was possibly coming after Game 1. I figured we'd split one there. We'd split one in Seattle after that happened. We could have easily been 0-2 in Seattle. So
definitely.
The only 2 games that weren't closely played were both of these games in Detroit. So, yeah. I mean, you could look at it and go, the Mariners could have easily swept Detroit, or you could look at this and say, hey, this could have been over in 4 for Detroit. So there is a part of being a Mariners fan that you just go, okay, we'll take it. And it's at home. Sure, we're playing into their strengths with Skubal on the mound again. The one thing you didn't want to do. But the Mariners' strength is playing at home, and especially in the second half.
Yeah, and I know everybody's all talking about Skubal, and rightfully so. The probably going to be the Cy Young Award winner this year, a guy that the Mariners as a team have beaten 3 times this year, and you would think the law of averages don't work out. I'm sure that those are all valid things. I feel like the Mariners have confidence in going against him. I'm sure in the first game of this series, it was pretty much only Polo who got you through it. But we got to remember, as far as Mariner fans, in my opinion, is Skubal's going to have a little doubt in his mind too, going into this game, going, well, why aren't the Mariners, or why can't I get a win against these Mariners? And besides that, in the last time he pitched in a Game 5 last year, he lost. He lost to Cleveland, gave up a grand slam, and got pulled. So there's a lot of X factors that could go on in a player's mind as they think about things. And I just, but obviously he could go and shove too. But I just think the Mariners, a big key to this game is getting out early, getting on top of him, so that doubt gets bigger in his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. In this Game 5, the Mariners need to get some runs early. You don't want to fall behind in this game. You don't want to fall behind in any game, but you don't want to fall behind in this game, because if you get on and you get runners in and you put some runs on the board, you're going to get Skubal out of there quicker. He's going on a short rest at the time of the recording. We don't know if it's going to be Kirby or it's going to be Castillo. My guess would be both of them. I think that you're probably going to see Kirby start and then go to Castillo, or maybe you see the other way around. But I think you're going to see a combination of both. I think it's not going to be a bullpen game, but it's not going to be your traditional, we're riding with Kirby on this one. I mean, Kirby pitched great in that last game, except for the mistake that he made. And you could even say, going on Dan's philosophy now, if this happened and if that situation comes up in Game 5, he's definitely going to the bullpen in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. That kind of sounds like what the plan will be. I'm hoping, though, if they do bring Castillo in, I would like him to get a clean inning. So, like, if Kirby's in trouble, I'd like them to bring somebody else in to try to get him out of it, and then have Castillo start with a clean inning. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't really like him coming in with runners on, having to, put out the fire. It's just something he's not into and has done very much. But I feel confident in that matchup. I've kind of played this game over my head and all the things that can happen, since you talked to me earlier. And, it's all hands on deck. We could see Logan Gilbert out there to close this game out for a victory. I mean, anything's possible. Everybody's available. So, but I agree with you. I would prefer Castillo really has the better numbers this year at home, and it can make a legitimate chance, decision to be the starter. But I personally like Kirby starting instead of him.
So do I. If this
he
was
misses
5
bats
games,
more.
Sure. He has sure. If this was on 5 days rest, I would be all in on Castillo for my personal taste. But with the 4 days rest, I'm definitely going with Kirby here in this game. And I think that's what's going to happen, and Dan's not going to release it. And guess what? I don't want to do an episode tomorrow. I need a mental day to figure this out. Now listen, how do we go about this of who needs to get it going, offensively? I'm just going to pull this up really quick, and I think we can easily say 6 to 7 of the guys, let's just say 6 of the guys, really need to start showing up. And if they're going to show up, Game 5 would be an excellent time. We have seen Eugenio get that home run yesterday, but he's got 1 hit in this entire series, and we need more out of him from the plate. You look at Julio Rodriguez, who has been great in the second half and great in the beginning of this series.
He slowed down.
Almost forgot he was even there in this Detroit. Didn't need him in Game 4. Needed him in Game 3. Needed him in Game 4. He didn't show up. You also look at Jorge Polanco. He's been quiet the last couple of days. A lot of swing and miss. And then, Victor Robles too, another guy only hitting 100 in the series. Garver, 250 in this series. Ooh. I got to say something that was really funny today, though. I was at the watch party, and when Mitch Garver was substituted for Dom Canzone, after Dom Canzone's first at bat, I think Canzone only got one at bat today. RBI single, torched the ball. There was the biggest moan and groan inside of T-Mobile Park. I know it was only maybe a couple thousand people, but it sounded like 10,000 people. But here's the funnier part. When he got that walk, it was maybe a bigger pop than when Cal got that RBI single and put us up 3-0.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean that was a pop. That was not a strange substitution. I just felt like you and I had talked about this. Let Canzone go after the lefties. I thought bringing in Garver then was a little bit early, but listen, he walked, he got on, it didn't hurt, but you did lose Canzone later. But the Mariners just never answered back. That was the problem. 9 unanswered, and that's because, again, Polanco 0 for 4, Julio 0 for 4, Randy Rosarena 1 for 5. Hit the ball though really hard in this game. J.P. Crawford 1 for 4. J.P. Crawford quietly hitting 308 in the series. And, Cal Raleigh quietly, I wouldn't say quietly, in the spotlight, hitting 438. But besides that, you don't have anybody with a great average. And I'm including Julio. But I will say, when I'm looking at this, Naylor today, now he has a batting average. Yeah, sure, you look at the series, 176. We know he was going through the birth of a child.
Yeah.
There still isn't a full-on yes or no this happened, right?
That's what I heard.
Okay.
I just heard him let the media know, hey, I just keep my personal life to myself. And yes, I had a baby, but that's all, we're going to talk about. So got to respect him for that and leave it alone. He's a ball player. He just wants to talk ball, nothing else.
Yeah, and today was the bright spot of the Seattle Mariners. Got it going, and that's what makes me feel good about Game 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Naylor coming back to Seattle after the game that he had, and hitting the ball good, that baseball IQ being showed off, his defensive skills at first base being showcased here. I'll tell you what, the turning point of this game where I actually did feel really good, and then I was like, that was the high, that was the peak. Because there was a meeting on the mound, and Josh Naylor came out there, and it seemed like he did 10 times the talking that Pete Woodworth did. And then that's when all the shellacking started. So maybe Pete Woodworth should have did more of the talking now that I think about it. But that was it. That was the point where I felt like, oh, these guys, they're loose, they're ready, they're gonna give up 1. Maybe they give up 2, they tie the game. I had no doubt in my mind that the Mariners couldn't come back. And then they did not respond. And again, the Tigers had 2 huge shutdown innings on the Mariners, and that was it. And then the rest was just a victory lap. But as the saying goes, Hanno, maybe this was the Detroit Tigers World Series championship game. Every team we see them in the playoffs have these games, especially in baseball, where a team just gets routed, and that's where baseball giveth and it taketh from it. The Tigers fans got their moment. They're feel good. They're going into Game 5. They got Skubal. They got a lot of hope going into this game, and we've been on the other side of that, where we've been at T-Mobile Park when the Mariners were back 1 game, chasing Texas, had a huge Thursday and Friday night emotional wins. Texas is going to lay down and take this. We have Castillo and Kirby going the next day, and that isn't the case. And you're right. And about saying, like, basically there's just as much pressure on those guys as there is on the Mariners. Now, the narrative might be the other way around, or that's what they want to write in the paper. But, I mean, just the Tigers in general are trying to rewrite what maybe people were putting them in the World Series most of the season earlier in the year from the AL side. And they fell flat, and they've crawled back. And they have their guy on the mound, so maybe the fans and they're feeling really confident about it. But what's going to happen if the Mariners come out and smack them in the nose?
Yeah, that's sure. We sure hope that's the case. I mean, you're right. The Tigers haven't won in their home park in like 5 weeks. They finally accomplished that. They haven't hit well, since earlier on the season. Yeah, they were the team to beat and putting up all kinds of runs. They were due to break out. They finally did. I don't think it's sustainable. You talked about the Mariners' averages and what you're seeing from them. You should look at Detroit's lineup and their averages and what they done. They had a big game. It happens, but we're going back home. Weather's gonna be colder. I would expect. I mean, there's rain in the forecast. I could see the roof being closed. We know how our Mariners pitchers pitch at home and feel better there. I just don't see them continuing their power surge like they had today. But it all depends on location. I mean, the Mariners are going to have to pitch on the corners. They're going to have to attack like they have. They can't leave anything in the middle. I mean, anybody will hit that. We saw that today. But and then getting back to your other point, we were talking about the Mariners hitters. Julio has had a really good season against the Tigers. Had a good start to this series. I feel good about him breaking out again, having another big moment. You're right, Eugenio's got to get going a little bit more, but I can picture, late innings, need a bomb. He might be the guy in this series. Cal's just continuing what he needs to do, but the guys in general need to grind harder, make it really tough for Skubal, fight off pitches, have long at-bats, get his pitch count up. All the things that we talk about to wear him down and just grind this game to give them the best chance to win.
Yeah, I'm agree with you with getting that pitch count up. That's going to be huge. And listen, you got Jorge Polanco right there up at the plate against Skubal again, with Skubal on 4 days rest. I kind of like that matchup. But Julio Rodriguez, you talk about him, that's a guy that lives off of this energy. And sure, he was a ghost in Detroit. I don't think that's going to be the case in Seattle. I think he hits well there. He feeds off of this energy. So I do feel, like I said at the beginning, we're playing into their strong point, but they're playing into ours. So for anybody just to say that Skubal's going to shut down the Mariners and this is it, you're crazy. But at the same time, again, you go back to the Seattle sports fan. We talked about this yesterday when we were at MVPs with our friend AG. He's sick and tired of everybody talking about the 95 slide. He's sick and tired of talking about what happened 30 years ago today or in the 2001. And I go, I agree, but give us something bigger to talk about. And this Mariners team has not gotten to that point yet. When they get to that point, now we're in this uncharted water for this group. And I hope that is the case.
I truly feel that it is the case for this reason. I've never heard a Mariner team talk so much about how they understand how bad the fans want it. They really understand how long it's been and the passion from this fan base. We've not really heard that from any of the teams. And I feel like this team's different. I think that's a key, but besides that, they want to win. I'm sure they're over, about 8:30 now. I'm sure they're anywhere from flying over Montana to maybe have already landed, and they're feeling good about things. So I feel like the guys are going to go out and do everything they can. They know how bad this city wants it. I think we've seen them when they've had their backs against the wall at times this year. And I think they're going to be loose, and they're going to feel confident, quiet confidence, knowing that they can hit this potential Cy Young Award winner, even though the law of averages might say, oh, you're facing him 4 times, he's bound to get one.
Well, I have a question for you. With a left-hander on the mound, you're filling out the lineup, and I'm going to say specifically the DH second base situation. Are you just going to go easily Mitch Garver, insert Dom Canzone when there's a lefty, or are you going to go just lefty on lefty, even though that's a really tough ask? And or option C, do you see Louis Rivas going up to second base and Jorge Polanco returning to second base? I bring this up because as much as Jorge Polanco has played a solid second base, I did see a few balls in the last couple of games, specifically 2 in this game today, that a faster player like Leo Rivas makes that play. So I'm asking you, fill out this game 5 with that in mind here of the DH at second base. What are you doing? You got Skubal on the mound.
So I didn't see Canzone's at bat today. He said he got a single. I didn't think he was having really that good of at bats throughout the series. And I mean, we've seen what left-handers, meaning Skubal, and even that relief pitcher have made him look, and all of our left-handed hitters. I don't think you can go in a game 5 just cookie cutter and put Garver in. I'm liking what you said and thinking out of the box. That gives you a switch hitter, a better defensive place, second baseman that I feel as a gamer, he's had some big hits and big moments this year in Rivas. It's game 5. Yeah, I stack the deck, try something different. I personally would that would be my choice. To go with that lineup. Second choice would probably give Canzone some time. And then Garver would be third, even though Garver had a nice at bat and walked today and has gotten a hit this series. I just think AJ knows that he's making moves to try to challenge Dan Wilson and make a move to fit him what he wants more, not just saying in the batting order here, but mostly pitching was the way he's changed his lineup and done things and pinch hit. But I think you can't be so reactive to what he's doing. You got to be able to dictate, and making a lineup change like that, I think is a cool, smart idea in game 5, and it's not one that could burn you. So that's why I feel good and confident about it.
And Leo Rivas, switch hitter as well. So
yes,
I was kind of, you just be kind of riding or dying with him in this game. But if you go back in the history of Dan Wilson, he's had some big moments for Dan Wilson, including his very first walk-off. And let's not forget about that in his first game. And let's not forget about what he did earlier this year in that game that just seemed to never end until Louis Rivas got that 2-run shot to right field. So my question kind of with that was like, well, when I was questioning myself on Louis Rivas, I go, well, who would you pinch hit for him to play second base? You know,
yeah, exactly.
When you look at this particular roster, but he is a switch hitter, but you lose that opportunity to make multiple DH switches. But
correct.
Let's just talk about what they've done with that DH slot. And we do have our friend Roots Top Sport says, I do not like Canzone getting pitch hit for Garver. Yeah, I didn't like it too much earlier today because just what Canzone had done with that stroke, that bat earlier, and you lost him earlier in the game. But then I'm listening to you, and you're right. He hasn't had a lot of good at bats. Garver got walked in that situation, and as I mentioned, the T-Mobile Park watch party went wild on that walk. But you go, well, you don't have flexibility with Polanco at DH. Well, you're not going to pinch for him anyway, so throw that issue out of there.
Yeah.
And what you have been rotating there, besides Dom Canzone's single, is nothing. A whole lot of nothing. You're going to have Mitch Garver, or you're going to have, what's the other guy that we forgot? Luke Raley. Now, I don't feel good about either of those guys. I probably feel better about Mitch Garver up there. One's a lefty, one's a righty, just because Mitch Garver has a good playoff history. Luke Raley had little to none, and look, the guy's hitting 200 this season. It is what he is right now. Can he bounce back next year? Maybe, and hopefully. But right now, he really doesn't do anything for me except for bunting or base running. I'm not putting him out there defensively over Robles. On a couple of the plays, maybe I'd be like, shoot, I'd rather not have him out in left field than Randy. But I'm not going to make that call or really say that. So I do feel like if you are going to do something at second base, And you're thinking, well, who would we pinch hit in those situations? Nobody, because the options aren't that much better than having that good defense out there. And I think you have to play. I know, and you know, everybody knows. They have to play clean baseball in this game 5.
Well, yeah, not only that, you can't have leadoff walks, especially out of your bullpen guys. There's a lot of things you can't have. Yeah, you got to play a clean game. I mean, and as far as Canzone too, earlier when I was talking about he hasn't looked that great this series, he has been a pretty good hitter against left-handers, but Dan just hasn't given him that opportunity as of late. They've played righty, lefty, lefty, righty this whole series. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, a reason to possibly keep him in as well. I mean, who do you give the advantage to here? The Mariners being at home? Or what do you think is more of an advantage? The Mariners being at home or Skubal on the mound?
The Mariners being at home.
Yeah.
With Skubal on 4 days rest.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
But let's use their word. Can they seize the moment?
Exactly.
They have this big banner sitting outside of the big banner, like the wall that welcomes you out the left field gate. And it says, seize the moment. And they have the 11 wins it was going to take the Mariners to win the World Series. And, this third one here is going to be a huge, huge one to put the little trident over. But I think it's setting up for the Mariners to do that. It's definitely going to test their character. And like you said, this is a team that bounces back, fights back. This is a Dan Wilson team through and through and in that aspect. And a lot of the wild swinging, maybe that's getting cleaned up on this plane. Yeah, maybe they're flying over Montana looking at charts. They're going to have to be cleaner with the at-bats. They're going to have to not chase and hopefully get balls out of the zone and not go after them. And you are going to have to work up this pitch count. If you can get Skubal up around like 70 pitches, 80 pitches in the 4th inning and get him out of there, and it's a 2-1, 1-0, 0-0 game, I think the Mariners in the back half of this game can take care of business.
Yeah, you got to really.
And the last thing I want to say, sure, Spire and Bizzardo got roughed up a little bit. They've also pitched probably the most in this entire series. Bizzardo's pitched all 4 games. Brash didn't get lit up here. Munoz didn't get lit up here. And none of the starters have gotten lit up. So if you can just get from those starters to those guys and everything's going well on your end at T-Mobile Park, you'd be fine. And then guess what? You win the game, you get 3 more losses back in your pocket, just like a video game, right? Power up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just agree with you. You're going to have to play smart offensively. You're going to have to get back and not play so much hero ball trying to hit the ball out of the park. Earlier on this season, if you were making outs, they were quality outs. You're going to have to be smart that way, especially against Skubal, because it's going to be a tight game. All the games already here have been tight, 3-2, and both of them won in extra innings. And like I said earlier, you're going to have to get the lead early. You do not want to get down early by even a couple, because that's going to just bump Skubal's confidence up even more. And I could see the Mariners press a little bit, and hopefully that's not the case. But these teams are 2 very evenly matched, as we've seen in the series. But I feel like player for player throughout the rosters, Seattle has the better team, and being at home is a key.
Yeah, and you talked about it earlier, Tigers. They weren't hitting in the series until today. I did text you, though, in that 3-run inning. I said, I think we woke a sleeping giant, at least for that day. But going overall in the series, sure, the guy that we're so scared of, it seems like that's been a vocal point. And A.J. Hinch has moved up to the top of the lineup. Carpenter, he's only hit 185 in this series, a big 0 for 5 today. He had that big first game and was a bit of trouble there, at the start of the series, but he's cooled off. Gleyber Torres, he's been trouble. They didn't really I mean, he's still got a couple of hits today. Him only hitting 286, but an OPS of over 800 in this series. He's been like, maybe those are your two guys that have had all the focus before today. That Keith guy that we both were like, we've never even heard of this guy. He's only hitting 100. Green, he's hurt you. He definitely turned around. I think was the big spark in the big surge of the runs after the 3-run inning. But Torkelson, you've managed him, but he got off today. I mean, everybody got off here in this game 3 for the most part. McKinley, but still, if you take away this game, only hitting 174. Their catcher's 125. Meadows, who's been terrible in this series, 167. Great pinch hit from that Jamani Jones guy.
Who hadn't done anything.
Who hadn't done anything. So everybody in here hadn't done any. Javi Baez, you may have resparked Javi Baez. He has hit 346 in this series, but still, look at those names. You don't know half of those people. And it's not because they're not Tigers fans. That is not Randy Rosarena, Cal Raleigh, Julio, Polanco, Naylor, Suarez, Canzone, Crawford, Robles. You just look at this lineup of talent, and they're going to have to answer the bell here. I think they will, but I'm just saying, you're right that it's not like Detroit's been, when we're talking about the poor hitting the Mariners have had, the Mariners have hit better.
Yeah, absolutely. They have. You mentioned that they had the bases loaded and only scored 1. You got to capitalize more.
Absolutely.
And then getting back to Detroit, we've seen them. They've been very aggressive offensively, big swings, trying to get ahead of things. The Mariners have gotten ahead of hitters, and, we got to keep them aggressive. But, our 2-strike pitch being real close, and then get them chasing, that slider that looks like a strike and then wipes out, because you can strike out these guys. They've struck out quite a bit. There's just so many different things to watch throughout this game with different strategies to see who's going to handle it the best. And you mentioned, seeing Spire and Bizzardo. You see guys that much, and that's what's so intriguing and interesting about a series. You see guys so much get pitched. I mean, that is the key. The advantage becomes to the batter then at that point, because they see what they got. So, I mean, that's just another thing to look at. But I feel I'm not scared to bring Spire in, on Friday. He's just got to locate. That's the biggest portion of the whole thing. They got to locate. They got to be on the edge, right on the fringes of everything. I mean, that's just anybody's going to get hit when they're, piping it like we saw.
Yeah, and with these relief pitchers too, we got to remember it might give us nightmares at night, but a lot of the best ones, and a lot of these guys have memories like a goldfish. They just go right back out there and they move on to the next game. Especially when you're like Spire, especially when you're a 30-year-old pitcher that's been around and you've had your ups and your downs in your career, you'll be all right. A guy like Bizzardo, every once in a while he gives up a jack. I still have all the faith in him. He's just been used a lot in the season and in this series.
What did Bizzardo get the home run hit? Was it a cement mixer or a fastball? Because you see him hang him sometimes, and that's what he gets in trouble with.
We'd have to go back and look at our Twitter, which I can. I think the Bizzardo was a sinker, the slider, but the slider didn't slide. It was right down the middle of the pipe.
Because he has a problem with that once in a while where they get hung right there and it's on a tee just to send out into the orbit. So, but for the most part, like before that, his slider's been so sharp, and that's what's made him so effective. Then backing it up with that high fastball and pinpointing it on the edges. So it's all about just getting the right location. I know I've hammered that tonight.
Right location. That's a key word I want to jump onto. We said it again and again. We've pondered this. Who has the advantage here? Skubal or the Mariners at home? And I think the answer is, whoa, what the hell is that? Hold on, you're not hearing this. Did you hear that music?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go to break really quick, and I'm going to finish that thought. My earbuds are playing like the saddest song while I was making this monologue here. So we go to break. I'm going to fix that because it's driving me fucking crazy. We'll be right back. Oh, let me tell you what we're going to roll to. If you haven't listened to one of our episodes from last week, which you should have listened to every episode. But definitely go back if you need a Mariners break or a series break. Go back and listen to our episode with SNL writer Carl Tart. Here's a little snippet from that show.
The moment where that band starts to play the warm-up music, not the theme music, the music that y'all don't hear, when the energy picks up, when the audience is there, when the audience is getting loaded in and the band is playing, when all that stuff happens, it gives you a jolt of energy every week, and you're just like, man, I got to do this. I get to do this. Getting the first sketch on was like getting a single, maybe like an RBI. Getting called to Lauren's office in between dress and air and looking at the board and seeing that your sketch moved up from the 12:50 slot to the first act, that's when it's like, oh, we did something cool. That feels like a home run. That felt like a home run. That was Timothy Chalamet.
The game where you're like, okay, you got a couple of knocks. You got some home runs, maybe hit a grand slam, probably the Dave Chappelle show.
Yeah. So the Dave episode was my like, oh, he's a player, and we can like the Dave episode I could get talked about on the local ESPN affiliate the next day. Like that's what that felt like. It's like this guy might actually be adding some value to this.
You asked for the ball, right? If you're a player, give me that ball. I'm taking that home. Do you have the paper copy of that? Did you take something?
I do. I do have that. I got the cue cards from the some of the jokes that I have in the sketch.
Oh wow! All right, that's from our friend Carl Tart. Check him out here on the next newest season of Saturday Night Live. Like they need our help for a plug. It should be the other way around. We got sent a case of rye bread and mustard sweatshirts to wear on for the ask if the cast can wear those on stage. If they win tomorrow. By the time this podcast is, we could say tomorrow. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by an Adele song playing on my phone. That was just really making this feel real somber and sad. And I was like, is Hanson just going along with this music that's playing in the background? Usually he'll call it out. Anyways, location. I think you said was location, and the Mariners are playing in the right location. And, Skubal versus the Mariners at home. I'm taking the Mariners at home because we've seen so much, and you can't discredit the energy and the dramatics and the way they've responded like this. This is the first time in the playoffs that their backs have been against the wall, where Detroit has the advantage. They've played with their backs against the wall quite a bit, but as they've maybe missing the playoffs, but as of late, in the Cleveland series, they jumped on them right away. Most of the time kept the pressure on them. But they've played a game this week where their backs against the wall. This is the Mariners' first time. So the positive thing, or the glass half full thing I look at is if they can conquer this or seize this moment, it's really going to propel them to go into Toronto. I mean, that's what's up for grabs here, right? You're playing in Canada on Sunday, and just like a video game or something like that, you get to unlock. Sorry about the noise. They're closing up here at Whole Foods. It's the wrap it up sign. But sorry, what was I gonna say? Oh yes, if it was like a video game and you're unlocking something, you've got to the next level. You get to unlock possibly having a goal. And I would look back at this series if the Mariners were not to prevail and really feel really shitty that our best starter all year never got to be part of this series. We talked about how lucky we were having Logan Gilbert at 3. Imagine if you had Wu and Castillo was your fourth game starter. But at the same time,
it's definitely
the starters have done well.
Yeah, it's definitely been a factor. I mean, it's changed up, today, let's say, instead of going to Spire that early, you might have Bryce Miller coming in to handle that. It's hard to say. Um, I keep losing my train of thought. Oh, I know what it was. They even talked about it, and I thought about it too on earlier. It's like you're always going to see good pitchers, um, especially in Game 5. We're going to see Skubal again. Sure, we've had a history against him, but how many times have the Yankees faced Pedro Martinez, throughout the year and in the postseason and gotten him? It's just another guy who you've had success with, and if you got to go after him. I'm just saying that's not the biggest deal of the game. It could be if he dominates, but I just try to look at the positive going into this game. Otherwise, you could drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, you do have to look at the positives going into this game, and again, I still think the biggest positive into this game is that the Mariners are going to have 47,000 screaming fans. Chris agrees. I mean, the hotline is so hot right now. He's calling. Actually, we do have a few comments. I was doing a bad job tonight. We have Amish on who says, blame the loss on Randy's poor outfield play that gave him a sliver of hope, and he pounced on it. Sure. I guess that wasn't one of the highlights of the game. But there has been a couple of these weird angles, but we talked about that earlier in the show. I'm just getting to that, where maybe sometimes it looks like Randy really has these grandiose ideas. He's going to make a snag, and then it seems like when the ball drops down, he doesn't concede enough. I'm sure they're going to clean that up. Randy's a great outfielder. Another. Go ahead.
I was going to say about Randy. Yeah, it's Randy being Randy. I didn't see the play, but I understand what you're saying. But on the other hand, you got to that catch he made. I saw it must have been late in the game because I just got home. Was it the 9th inning where someone crushed it way over his head of the warning track, and he somehow made that catch? Do you remember which one I'm talking about? Late in the game.
I think that was about the time I walked out of T-Mobile Park.
Oh, okay.
I did not stay until the bitter end of
so
that.
my point of it was you got to take the good with the bad, and I didn't think he had any shot at making that catch, and he did. But I just hope that he needs to. I don't know. It's just Randy being Randy. Sorry. Just losing my train of thought.
As you can see here at and the sounds of it here at the Inner Bay Whole Foods, they're shutting it down. So I'm gonna get here we'll get here to our final thoughts or things that we want to talk about here shortly. Okay. There you go. This is a hell of a program we have going on. I did want to talk a little bit about the T-Mobile Park experience. I went to the watch party, and overall, I had a great time for the most part. At the beginning of the game, there was a little bit of there was a little bit of there was a bit of problem with the screen and the syncing of the volume and the game, just like we had at any other sports bar. So they got that corrected. Hopefully it was from our tweets. I don't think this person knows I'm doing a podcast, and that's fine.
You didn't bring a red light to put next to you?
No.
Live on air.
Live on air. Sorry, we lost our other location. Can't tell that story on here. But yeah, I thought it was fun. They kind of try to do their best to make it like as if you're there. So they have the in between inning stuff. But my review on that is some of the things went long, like the salmon run, and all of a sudden they go back to the screen and there's one out already. They did, however, in the 7th inning stretch, as I was walking out, at least if this is the last time I'm in that stadium, because I don't think I'm going into a Game 5. I said I'm not going until we go to ALCS, or if we go. But when I was walking out, it was a seventh inning stretch, and they were playing the real Louie, not that bullshit one. And now they got the security guards coming over, so I'm definitely gonna wrap this up. I'm just wrapping up a podcast. I'll be like 30 seconds. It's about the Mariners. I'll be like 30 seconds. Thank you. Thanks for liking, subscribing. I guess that's it for our episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and all that shit. Hey, if you want this street cred for rocking the rye bread, you see the sweatshirts right here. Hit up at simply.core. That's at simply.core. Also, if you're looking for a good hot dog, my favorite thing to do is get them 2-for-1 after the games. But going into the game, you can take them in. They'll let you in the stadium. Make sure you hit up Al's Gourmet Sausages. And listen, if you're looking for a big pre-funk or, hey, a post-game funk after maybe the big celebration of the whatever ALDS win, head on over to Tacos and Tequila. Make that your pregame destination, located at 1021 Occidental Avenue. And of course, hit up In the Clutch Apparel. In the Clutch Apparel's got all of your NBA, WNBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. I think they even got tennis and golf. Hit them up. Use promo code, all one word, rye bread and mustard. Now they got two security guards over here. Maybe they're Mariner fans, or maybe they're going to toss me out of the Whole Foods here. Hopefully the hot bar is open because I'm starving. Anyways, with that being said, we will be back, win or lose, Friday night. We never have Friday night episodes. We're going to be back with Friday night episode. We might even have a watch party to tell you about. We don't know. You got how you find out is you like and subscribe and follow us on social media. It's pretty simple. We do most of our business over on Instagram. Go check us out over there. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is. Charge.
Never know what you're going to get on the rye bread and mustard. It's always
yeah. Might get an ejection here.